This is recording 843. The name of this recording is Listen Next 843. You can find me at speakingtothecia.com or christinastation918.com. The name of my podcast is Speaking to the CIA. You can find me on YouTube, Christina Station 918. You can find me on Spotify, Scorpio71, or Twitter, Christina MS918. Okay, so I'm going to continue here. So, hang on a second. All right, so hang on. Okay, so this is going to be more crime that I'm reporting and more decode. So, decoding crime that I'm reporting against Jean Jernigan Roberts. I am accusing Jean Jernigan Roberts of Milton, Florida, of committing these crimes with her and her Manson Ku Klux Klan occult. As I am in every recording. Again, you can find me at christinastation918.com. Okay, so there is on TV, on Netflix right now, The Death of Rachel. Okay, so let me talk about that in just a second, okay? All right, so I want to skip topics. I'm going to report this crime, but someone was trying to get me to do this out of order, and I just want to go down my notes. You know who's messing with my brain, the person who I'm making charges against. Okay, so, all right. Somebody said in my brain and mental telepathy the other night, they were talking again about the constellation, and they were talking about Rainbow Bridge. So I want to talk about two things before I talk more about Rainbow Bridge. So when I was little, and I've got this in my decode books, when I was little, two of the kind of same things happened. One happened to me and one happened to my sister. But it was the same kind of thing. So we were at Lake Powell. We were on vacation. We were at Lake Powell, and they used to give tours where you could go walk on Rainbow Bridge. Like, you could hike it and you can walk across it. And you've got to see, Rainbow Bridge is a monolith. It's huge, huge. You look teeny tiny from the ground looking to the top of it. People look like teeny tiny on the top of it. But I asked my mom, I was little, and I asked my mom, and I think some of my family members were going to go hiking up there. And I asked my mom, I'm like, can I go up there? Can I go hiking up there? And my mom said, no, you can't. It's too dangerous. And I argued with her, why can't I? And she's like, you can't. And I got upset, kind of like stomping my foot, like, why can't I go up there? I want to go up there. I love Rainbow Bridge. And my mom was like, no, you can't. So anyway, like, looking back, I know this is significant, but the way that I look back is that someone at that point in time, and probably all my mom's life, and probably all my life too, I wouldn't be having the ability, even though people couldn't stop what was going on in our lives, being stalked by Jean Roberts and her Manson occult. It's not like it's not known, and that doesn't say they know what's going on the whole time, every second of the day, everywhere, or anything like that. But there are points in my life where I know that somebody knows that our family is being stalked and controlled by Jean Roberts and her Manson occult. So anyway, this is kind of one of those times where I look back and I appreciate that my mom said no. Because I was going to grow up and realize and decode. I already love Rainbow Bridge. I love Arizona. I love southern Utah. Rainbow Bridge is actually in southern Utah. Lake Powell is at the top of Arizona and at the bottom of Utah. It spans both states. But anyway, that I would grow up and I would realize just how precious land is, even more precious than what I've grown up with and what I've always known, that I've always loved, just how deeply precious land is, and how deeply precious time is. And, so like, no, you don't need to walk on Rainbow Bridge. This is not for you. You don't need to. So I appreciate my mom telling me that. Another time is, I was with my mom and my sister and brother, and we were driving down, I don't know what road we were on. We were in Mesa, and there was a big, I'm sorry, somebody is like slamming a door, not purposely or intentionally. They're walking in, and then they're using ice to flinch my body or whatever. It's Gene Robertson or Manson Occult. They're getting their S&M on is all they're doing. Freaking ignore them. Anyway, so, icing my roommates, icing me, however you want to put it. Anyway, so we drive past this funeral, or not funeral, but what do you call that? A graveyard. And it's huge. This is a really, really, really big, huge a cemetery. Thank you. It's a really huge cemetery. And there's flowers on every grave. And we drove past it, and my little sister, I got such a kick out of her. She goes, "Mom, look at all the flowers over there." And she's looking at all the graves. But she's not looking at the graves, she's looking at the flowers. I'm sorry, people are trying to control my speech. Probably because they're going to clip and stitch this. This is ridiculous. Gene Robertson and Manson Occult need to be arrested. But anyway, so she's looking at all the flowers. She's not realizing that it's a cemetery. And, I mean, it looks like a sea of flowers. And she goes, "Mom, look at all the flowers." And my mom goes, "Yeah." She's looked up the window. She goes, "Yeah." And she goes, "Can we have a picnic there?" And then my mom was like, "No, we can't have a picnic there." "Why not?" "Because we can't." And then I was like looking at it and could see that it was a cemetery, and I started laughing and chuckling at how cute my sister was because she didn't realize what she was saying. But that was another time that my mom said, "No, we can't go have a picnic there." So, she's probably did that, and then I already know what Gene Roberts is trying to pull there. Icing you and your mom and your sister. Are talking through my voice right now. Anyway, another time was, there is another time we were leaving Lake Powell. The summer vacation was over. We were leaving Lake Powell, and we were driving past the dam, Lynn Canyon Dam, which is the last part of the lake before you leave. And I was fascinated with the dam because whenever we would boat up near the dam, my mom would always be like, this is dangerous, and this is scary. And it was always like, ooh, ah, every time we boated near the dam. So every time we left the lake, I'd be looking and feeling melancholy for leaving the lake. And then I'd be looking at the dam and wishing I could swim in the dam. Like, I wanted to go swim in the dam. So there was one time we were there, and I asked my mom, "Can I go swimming in the dam?" And my mom was like, "No, you cannot go swimming in the dam." And I was like, "Why not?" And she's like, "Because it's too dangerous. You can't go swimming in the dam." But I didn't want to listen to what my mom said. I wanted to go swimming in the dam. It looked like a sea of crisp blue water that was just there for me to plunge into. But really what's going on in a dam is not that. It's turbulent. It's like a hurricane in there. So, my mom is like, no, you cannot go swimming in the dam. Someone told me not too long ago, and within the past 10 years, and I don't know who told me that there were people thrown in the dam. Murders happened and people were thrown in the dam. So if there's any cases like that, missing people, I probably would not go. I probably would look into that. I definitely would probably look into that. But anyway, so Rainbow Bridge, okay, in Utah. So someone said to me in my brain, they said, I wonder what the constellation is directly above Rainbow Bridge at midnight. And I said, I don't know. I'm going to look it up and see. So I look up midnight at Rainbow Bridge. What is the star constellation directly above Rainbow Bridge at midnight? And this is the answer. The constellation closest to the zenith already overhead is usually Hercules. The bright Keystone Astrum in Hercules passes very highly overhead on June nights on the, I guess it's at that latitude. I don't know what the last word is. It's Hercules. I was like, oh my God, that is signs of the future again. So that is the past, all the way back to Genesis. And it is also signs of the future. Now you already have all of my decode and my ciphers, but that's signs of the future. So I just wanted to point that out. Okay, so moving ahead, you already know how I'm moving ahead. The death of Rachel, a beloved matriarch in the Bible, occurs in Genesis 35:16-20. She died on the road near Ephrath, modern-day Bethlehem, while enduring a difficult childbirth with her second son. The Murder of Rachel Nichol, Netflix. So I just want to point out, Rachel Nichol, you already know by her name, goes to the death of Rachel in Genesis. So this movie that is on Netflix, I am perturbed, but then again, I am not perturbed, because Gene Roberts and her Manson occult has committed crime everywhere. So how can you make a biography or a documentary or anything, or cover any crime on TV, when most of it is, by decoding it, Gene Roberts committed this crime? I'm just praying to God that the people that are making these series and then they're going on Netflix are not racketing with the people who committed the crime, which would be Gene Roberts and her Manson occult. But you need to know that Gene Roberts and her Manson occult committed that crime, and it goes to Rachel in the Bible, and there's probably a lot more to it. Now moving forward, so Bicoscripto. Okay, so BIC is brain to computer interface. And then by no coincidence, there's BIC lighters. See all my decodes, see all my ciphers. Do I need to go over everything again over and over and over? No, I don't. So you have my decoded ciphers, okay? So again, Scripto is also a lighter, okay? Again, by no coincidence. So that's what I always call her activities that she does present day. Well, she's done it all of my life. Biko Scripto. She commits the crime, and then she does these little reenactment acting out skit stunts and feeds people full of crap and does all this ridiculousness when she is the one who's committed these crimes. And then she acts like she's going to act it out, and then she's going to racket it and get away with the whole thing. I call it Biko Scriptor. It's just a bunch of malarkey that a criminal is doing, trying to cover up for the fact that they are themselves the ones who committed the crime, whatever the crime is. So anyway, well, I also want to point out about Biko Scripto. Okay, also notice Bic pens, which I know you guys know that. Is Scorpion Baby is inside the combination of that Biko Scripto. Also in that, she's using a Blanca, and what I mean by Blanca is Tate LaBianca. Jean Jernigan Roberts is white. Stop trying to control my speech. Act like you're not white, Jean. They know who you are, my dad's ex-girlfriend. They know who everybody is in Charles Manson. So there's also the Tate LaBianca in that. And then she also rackets, she rackets as the Rescuers. Now, you remember the Rescuers is one of my favorite Disney movies from when I was a little girl. You're going to want to see all the decode and all the ciphers, which is on my podcast, this podcast right here, speaking to the CIA.com. You can also see it on my Pinterest, Christina Station 918. And it's, so she's pretending to be a rescuer when she is the perp. So how she used the rescuers. Now, somebody also pointed out rescue, and then that also leaks to her planning to do the World Trade Center attack. So she commits the attack, and then she pretends to be a rescuer. Okay. Anyway, that also leaks to, it also goes to the shish kebab part of the ciphers where she planned to do Cheryl Noble. You're going to see all my ciphers on that. And then also the word skewer, which is what a shish kebab is on. Okay, so here's something else. This is something that I just figured. I already knew some of this, but here's more of this. So my mom is a Virgo. You're gonna have to look at this, the star signs. Okay, so my mom is a Virgo and I'm a Scorpio. Okay, so look at the symbol of Virgo and then look at the symbol of Scorpio. Okay, so anyway, so it goes Virgo, Scorpio, and then Latin America. And Latin America always tells me, they tell me, myself, Christina, we know you're the Scorpio child. You are the Scorpio child. We are the entire Scorpion. You will make sure the United States hears you in your demands to please arrest Jean Jernigan Roberts and her Manson occult. Hold her accountable for the terrorism that she committed. Make her stop stalking me and my boys. Arrest her. And they tell me Latin America is the entire Scorpion. And Africa is the human heart. Okay? So, more into this. This is crazy. Okay, so if you look at Virgo, Scorpio, Latin America, it spells out the word unveil. Okay, and it shows World War III is a silent war. It also shows 4 world wars. If you put, it also shows, which is another one of her themes, which is early in my life as first grade, which is A Christmas Carol. Okay, the ghost of Christmas past, present, and future. Okay, with my little green ornament, Nina, when me and my mom went Christmas caroling with my first grade class. Okay, so, and then Jean steals that and tries to pretend to be me as a child at East Globe Elementary. If that doesn't work, she tries to pretend to be my sister and get away with her Biko Scripto and her lies and her crimes and pretending to be people she's not, acting like she's getting away with all of this stalking of all of us, all of our lives. Okay, so if you take the words past, present, and future, okay, and you go with Virgo, Scorpio, and Latin America, you have VP again. Then that's for past, and then for present, you put MP, okay? So MP is the letter M. Virgo is the M too, and it looks like there's a baby. And then Scorpio just looks like a M, okay? So anyway, so you have MP for present. So then all the initials that she used for MP, such as military police, there's all kinds of stuff in here. Okay, so the future is LF. Okay, so if you put Latin America with the future, then you have LF. Okay, so then look, even that, there's voicemail in that. That's crazy. People are examining this. They're like, this is crazy. So, okay, if you take the same combination, then you have plate, then you have late, and then you have flate. Okay, and then also in this is pilaf, Pilaf. Okay, so I know that's a word that goes with rice pilaf. So I went to go look up the etymology for pilaf, like where does this word come from? I want to know how this food got named this food. So I don't want to pay attention to the food itself. I know that Gene uses food, that's a given. I'm not paying attention to any of the food. I want to know the origins and the basis of the name, where it came from in history, okay, because it's in here. So anyway, there's all kinds of stuff in here that shows that Gene Roberts and her Manson occult before the 60s, throughout history, more evidence of her underlying everything everywhere all throughout history. Okay, so no, Persia is in there, also Ottoman Empire is in there. Okay, then also looking up, what was I looking up here? Okay, so I want to move ahead. Oh, and then Bryce Canyon is in here, and then again, that would go to Rainbow Bridge. And then you also know underneath the valley in Arizona is Auckland. Okay, so, oh, I know what I was doing. I was looking up where rice is in the Bible. Like, where does it exist in the Bible and how is it used? Okay, so I found a scripture, and the scripture, now this is where I defer to biblical scholars. So what does God mean? What does Allah mean? Like, what are they saying? God is Allah. What are they saying? What do they mean in scripture? And how did Gene use the scripture to commit blasphemy, to run her terrorism rackets and agenda, which she'll never get away with? I've got her turned in. So it's up to the experts of the world to look at scripture and then to see how this fits in and how everything fits together and where it goes. And this particular scripture, I don't understand as well as I should. I don't understand. Like, I don't understand. Like, oh my God, I don't understand. Like, I don't cognitive. I don't like, it's not easy for my brain to understand. And so anyway, but then again, I take it as I know it. And that's how I figure out what is relevant based on what I know, because then that connects to the knowers that know, so that they can also make reports against Gene Jernigan Roberts. So there's scripture in there Exodus 9:32. Okay, so I'm trying to understand. So I'm trying to rewrite it in words that I understand, that I know. Because if there's too much negative, what do they call that? A double negative. If there's too much negative in my brain won't process it. Like my brain is really, really exhausted, and I already struggle with that anyway. But if there's too much double negative going on in my brain just cannot process anything. So I'm trying to like rewrite it the same way that it's written with different words, so my brain can cognitively understand what Exodus 9:32 is saying. So anyway, a part of the scripture is anger were not smitten. Okay, so what I see from that is angry is not positive, angry is not joy, is what I see. I also see wheat and anger. Okay, and then I also see wheat and anger are aggravated. And then I also decoded wheat pennies. And then again, penny goes to the rescuers. It goes to wheat penny, everything wheat penny. It goes to 9/11, everything. Okay. So I see angry pennies. And then note the initials AP. And then angry pennies, also, that's the name of one of the biggest journalistic societies in the United States of America, the Associated Press. So Jean is also using that as a way of saying she's purposely aggravating journalists. And because they can't say, due to threats, exactly what is going on. So they're angry journalists. So she's intentionally trying to make journalists mad. But then again, you also have some journalists out there who have not behaved in the integrity way that they should have been behaving under journalists. What is the word I'm looking for here? How, you know how everybody has, they have a creed, like businesses have a creed or mottos that they follow by. Okay, so journalistic integrity. Okay, so journalists today do not all follow by that like they should. Okay, just like in healthcare, you when you become a physician, you take an oath. Okay, and healthcare is supposed to be your primary focus. Okay, you're supposed to be focusing on saving lives. You're not supposed to be focusing on hurting or maiming people. You're supposed to be focused on saving lives. And even when I talk, Jean is stabbing lies and stuff in my brain, which is making me sick. I'm sick of Jean Roberts. So it's showing here like the angry pennies is, I can see she's intentionally trying to aggravate journalists, and I can also see that journalists haven't been acting in full manner of integrity here in the United States, which is where I see it. The most at, and when what I see is her hacking journalist websites, media websites is what I see. But also in this angry pennies, so wheat and anger are aggravated. So I see that. So wheat and anger are aggravated. And also notice W and A, okay? So wheat and anger are aggravated. So I see in here that God knows that people are being intentionally aggravated, which is what Jean does to me. She intentionally tries to aggravate me and make me mad. She will not leave me alone. She will not stop stalking me. The President of the United States will not arrest her. This is insanity. So has this been throughout history? People have been aggravated intentionally. Like, it's funny, like poking at something, like poking, like, what is that phrase? Poking at the bear? But poking at anything. Because, you know, she'll go make up a lie about bears. Gina lie about anything. Just like poking at something, like just like doing that for entertainment, and then to cause anger and pain, and then to try to control and wield the pain and anger so the outlash works in the direction that you want, which is somebody attempting to sub-control a part of society that should be arrested, which would be the Ku Klux Klan, which would be white supremacist. But anyway, I see that here. We in anger are aggravated. And then I also see agriculture. I also see Alice in Wonderland in reverse. So, which is a part of, this is one of Jean's main themes, Alice in Wonderland. So Alice in Wonderland. So you go in reverse, like I go in reverse looking through my childhood, and I decode all these ciphers and crimes, and I figured out all the crimes that Gene Roberts has committed. And now I'm right where I'm at right now, demanding that Gene Jernigan Roberts be arrested. I do that by pressing charges. I do that by providing evidence, and I continue to press charges. Every time I see her committing a crime, and I can decode that crime, I put it online, and I turn her in until she is arrested. And I'm in witness protection. My boys are in witness protection. I'm tired of being stalked. Everybody's tired of. She's stalking everyone. Gene Jernigan Roberts and her man cynical, and it's pure entertainment to her. You know what she was sticking in my brain last night? Freaking high waters. She was taking a pair of my pants in my brain, and she was turning them into high waters, and she was dancing them around. And she just thought she was just funny as hell doing it. And people are in my brain going, you're going to be executed. Number one, you're lying. And number two, you're just a nasty, vile person. You're going to be executed. I mean, everything is pure entertainment to her. She doesn't care about committing terrorism. She doesn't care about trafficking or being caught for trafficking. She doesn't care about any of it. Everything is a joke to her. So anyway, but it shows here AIW in reverse, that the AIW happens, which is what everybody is experiencing now, but then it goes in reverse, which shows me that's war and Revelations. Okay, so this is what I'm seeing. This is going to take biblical scholars, but this is what I see in this. Okay, and this is what I'm decoding out of it. So, Revelations, Gog and Magog is in this. So it goes to Revelations. So Exodus 9:32 is connected to Ezekiel 38:39 and also Revelations 20, because I looked up how these if these go together, and they do. Revelations 27 through 10. And what did I tell you to look for everywhere, all over the planet, is any combination of the number 279. I decoded the heck out of it in the United States. And when I was talking to people internationally in mental telepathy, they went on a mad hunt all over the world looking for combinations of 279. The number combination is very significant. I decoded tons of 279. The 279, and then what is not 279, and I decoded more of that. I mean, I've decoded a ton of it. So anyway, inside this is HCB, and then I'm going to put in brackets something for you that I'm initialing myself, OLD, and then also, so also in this, I see decoding in this, or I'm decoding in this, what is significant is this, is spelt SPELT, also rise. It's also saying that God knows that Gene is lying. And then, you know, L is the upside down 7. And then also pointing out that rice has a meaning of good luck, which I thought that was cool finding out. I already knew that, like everybody knows that, but like to find that out and looking up the word rice and that it actually means good luck. But then you can see how she used the good luck. But rice has a meaning of good luck. It's used at weddings. Okay. Also, you know what? I'm at, how much more do I got here? Let me do one more recording after this. I think this will be, then I might be caught up. Okay.